Late one night in a quiet observatory on a cold mountain in Chile, a young scientist named Dr. Elena Morales sat alone, staring at her computer screen. She was monitoring signals from deep space, a routine job that usually brought nothing but silence. But tonight something strange appeared. A series of repeating pulses, rhythmic and organized, unlike any natural sound from the universe. At first she thought it was a glitch, maybe interference from a satellite. But when she ran the data again, the pattern repeated perfectly. Her hands began to shake. She knew this was no error. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate. Within hours, the signal was detected by other observatories in Japan, the United States, and India. It wasn't just a local incident. The exact same coded message was being picked up all over the world, coming from a fixed point far beyond our solar system. News spread quickly. Scientists and journalists flooded the internet with theories. Some claimed it was a new star phenomenon. Others believed it was proof that humanity was not alone. Governments tried to keep things quiet at first, but in today's digital age, nothing stayed secret for long. By the next morning, every major news channel was talking about it. "Alien signal detected!" flashed across screens in every language. Crowds gathered outside universities and research centers. People argued on social media. Some were excited, others terrified. Churches filled with people praying, while conspiracy theorists shouted that it was a government trick. The world had changed overnight. Humanity had received its first message from the stars. In Washington, a special meeting was called at the United Nations. Representatives from every major country joined via secure video calls. The situation was too big for any one nation to handle. The message was still being studied, but early analysis showed it wasn't random. The pulse pattern followed a mathematical sequence, one that clearly displayed intelligence. Scientists believed it might even contain visual or audio data hidden within the code. Elena was invited to join an international team formed to decode it. She couldn't believe she was part of something this historic. Alongside her were experts in cryptography, linguistics, astrophysics, and computer science. The first thing they noticed was that the signal repeated every 6 hours, as if to make sure no one missed it. It carried energy strong enough to be picked up from billions of kilometers away. Whoever sent it wanted it to be heard. Days turned into weeks as the world waited for answers. In every country, people gathered around televisions and phones, hungry for any update. For the first time in centuries, all human eyes looked in the same direction, toward the stars. And yet fear lingered. If another civilization was reaching out, what did they want? Was it a warning? A greeting? A threat? In laboratories across the world, computers worked day and night, decoding millions of possible combinations. Then, after nearly a month, a breakthrough came. A scientist in Germany discovered a hidden structure within the signal, an encoded image made of binary dots. When converted, it revealed a strange but beautiful design, a spiral with symbols around it resembling a star system. At its center, 3 circles glowed brighter than the rest. Beneath the image, one symbol repeated over and over again like a cry written in light. When linguists analyzed it, they realized it could only mean one thing: help. The world froze. The signal wasn't just proof of alien life, it was an SOS. Somewhere out there, a civilization was asking for help. No one knew what kind of danger they faced, but it was clear they were desperate. Some scientists speculated that their planet might be dying. Others thought they were being attacked or facing a cosmic disaster. But if they had the power to send such a signal across galaxies, why couldn't they save themselves? That question haunted everyone. The discovery sparked chaos among governments. Some leaders wanted to respond immediately. Others warned against it, fearing a trap. What if they're leading us into danger? One military general argued. We don't know who they are or what they want. Yet others said, if they're asking for help, it means they're not invincible. Maybe they're like us, vulnerable. For the first time, humanity was forced to see itself from another perspective. We were no longer alone, and we had to decide what kind of species we wanted to be. In the midst of all this tension, ordinary people began to change. Artists painted images of alien worlds. Children wrote letters addressed to our friends in space. Religious leaders called for unity and compassion. Even the internet, usually full of conflict, buzzed with a rare kind of hope. People imagined that helping another civilization might be humanity's greatest destiny, but darker forces also rose. Groups spreading fear, claiming the aliens were demons or conquerors. The world stood divided between wonder and terror. Elena barely slept. She spent every hour decoding, trying to find more meaning in the signal. One night, while reviewing the transmission frame by frame, she noticed something subtle, a faint echo inside the signal's tail. It wasn't random noise. When amplified, it formed another pattern, shorter but urgent. Her computer translated it into numbers that resembled coordinates. When she cross-checked them, her heart stopped. The coordinates pointed directly toward Earth's future orbit, specifically to a point that our planet would cross in exactly 3 years. It was as if the signal was warning us about something heading our way. She immediately contacted the UN research team. Within hours, astronomers confirmed the terrifying truth. A large, fast-moving object, a cluster of unknown energy, was approaching the solar system. It wasn't visible yet to telescopes, but gravitational data hinted at something massive. The alien message wasn't just asking for help. It was a warning to us. Panic erupted again. News outlets broke the story and fear swept through the world. Are we in danger? People asked. Governments held emergency meetings. Scientists scrambled to understand what kind of cosmic threat was approaching. Some predicted it was a rogue star fragment. Others said it might be dark energy tearing through space. The alien signal began to look less like a discovery and more like a countdown. Elena, though frightened, felt something deeper: responsibility. The message had reached Earth for a reason. Maybe they sent it to us because we're next, she whispered to her colleague. Maybe they're trying to save us from what destroyed them. For the first time, humanity realized the universe might not be cruel. It might be connected by empathy. One dying civilization reaching out to another, hoping someone somewhere would listen. In the following weeks, cooperation between nations reached levels never seen before. Countries that had been rivals for decades began sharing resources and data. Scientists from every continent worked together in a massive joint project called Project Echo. The goal was to fully decode the alien message and understand how to protect both worlds. But not everyone believed in peace. Some nations secretly prepared weapons just in case the help was a trick. Trust was fragile, but it was all humanity had left. Meanwhile, strange effects started happening on Earth. Satellites near the upper atmosphere picked up faint electromagnetic ripples, like waves of invisible energy passing through. Some believed it was connected to the alien signal. Others thought it was a sign that the approaching cosmic event was getting closer. Crops began to grow unusually fast in certain regions, while electrical systems randomly failed in others. The planet itself seemed to be responding to something beyond human understanding. Elena and her team continued their work, and one night, they finally decoded a new section of the message. What they found changed everything. Hidden deep within the transmission were blueprints, schematics for a kind of energy field generator, technology far beyond human capability. It was designed to shield planets from massive cosmic radiation. The aliens had sent us not just a cry for help, but a gift, a tool for survival. The world now faced a new question. Could humanity come together to build something like this before time ran out? The plans required resources and cooperation from every corner of the globe. Old divisions had to disappear or everyone would perish. The fate of two civilizations, one distant and one our own, depended on humanity's ability to work as one. That night, as Elena looked up at the stars, she felt a deep connection to the unknown beings who had sent the signal. Somewhere far away, they were waiting, hoping we would answer. She realized that this was not just their SOS, it was also a test for humanity, a chance to prove whether we could rise above fear, above greed, and become something greater. The first step had been taken. The message had been heard. The universe had finally spoken, and now it was humanity's turn to respond. The whole world waited as scientists worked day and night to decode the alien signal. It had been weeks since the first message arrived, and humanity was still trembling with curiosity and fear. Every country was trying to contribute something, but no one had managed to fully understand what the message meant. In a hidden underground lab in Geneva, a team of experts sat around glowing screens, surrounded by wires and humming machines. Among them was Dr. Elena Morales, who had become one of the leading scientists on the project. She was exhausted but determined. She knew this signal was not just a mystery, it was a responsibility. The team began by breaking the signal into layers. At first they thought it was just a mathematical message, but as they dug deeper, They found patterns within patterns, like doors hidden inside other doors. The code was complex, almost alive. It shifted slightly every time they analyzed it, as if reacting to their attempts. That was when a linguist from Egypt noticed something strange. The same pulse pattern repeated every time the scientists discussed the concept of time. It was as if the message was listening, adjusting, communicating back in some subtle way. Then, one night, a breakthrough came. A computer program designed to translate complex sound waves suddenly displayed a string of symbols and images. The team watched in silence as a holographic projection formed above the table. It showed a planet surrounded by bright rings of light, beautiful yet unstable. Strange cracks of energy spread across its surface. Then the image zoomed out, showing a distant star system with a dark cloud approaching, swallowing light as it moved. At the bottom of the image, a series of symbols blinked rapidly. When translated, they formed one haunting word: danger. It was now clear. The alien civilization was not only sending a distress call, they were warning about something coming, something powerful enough to destroy worlds. But the message did not end there. Hidden within the data was a collection of complex blueprints. The files described structures that could manipulate energy fields, bend light, and shield entire planets from cosmic forces. The scientists realized this was technology far beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. It was like being handed the plans for a miracle. The world leaders were immediately informed. The United Nations called for an emergency global summit. Representatives from every nation gathered in a massive hall in New York. The atmosphere was tense. Some leaders were hopeful, saying that this alien technology could save both their world and ours. Others were suspicious, warning that building such technology might attract whatever danger the aliens faced. But one truth stood out above all. Humanity had been chosen to receive this message. The question was, why us? In the middle of the heated discussions, new data from the alien signal arrived. It contained precise coordinates and a timeline. According to the calculations, the same cosmic threat that had destroyed the alien world was now moving toward Earth's solar system. The timeline predicted that it would reach us in less than 3 years. A cold silence filled the room. The message was no longer just a mystery. It was a countdown. As panic spread, scientists worked even harder. Elena's team analyzed the alien blueprints and discovered that the technology required not just metals or energy sources, but something else: human unity. The design of the energy shield was based on synchronization, where thousands of smaller stations across the planet had to work together perfectly, like the rhythm of a single heartbeat. If even one country refused to participate, the system would fail. It was as if the aliens knew our greatest weakness, division, and had built the solution to require the opposite. Meanwhile, news channels broadcast updates every hour. People everywhere watched with growing fear and fascination. The message had become part of daily life. Children learned about it in schools. Factories began shifting production towards scientific equipment. Artists painted murals showing Earth surrounded by glowing shields. For a brief moment, humanity seemed united in purpose. But beneath the surface, old rivalries began to stir again. Some nations demanded control over the alien technology, arguing that their scientists were more advanced. Others feared it would be used as a weapon. Elena tried to stay away from politics, but soon she found herself in the middle of it. One evening, she was invited to a private meeting with powerful leaders who wanted her to hand over parts of the blueprint exclusively to them. They promised her fame, money, and protection, but Elena refused. She knew the message was meant for all humanity, not a few powerful people. When she walked out of the meeting, she realized how difficult it would be for humans to work together, even with the fate of the world at stake. The decoding continued, and with each new fragment of data, the picture became clearer. The aliens had faced the same cosmic phenomenon, a massive wave of dark energy that consumed stars and disrupted space itself. They had tried to fight it using their technology, but their efforts failed. The SOS signal was their last act of hope, sent across the universe in search of another intelligent species that might learn from their mistakes. Humanity was their final message in a bottle, drifting across the endless ocean of space. In laboratories around the world, experiments began to test small parts of the alien technology. A group of scientists in Japan successfully recreated a miniature version of the energy field described in the message. For a few seconds, it shimmered in the air like a thin, glowing curtain before vanishing. It was a small success, but it proved the technology was real. The news spread like wildfire, giving people hope again. Maybe, just maybe, they could survive what was coming. But not everyone celebrated. Some groups accused the scientists of playing with forces beyond understanding. Protests erupted in major cities. People feared that the attempt to use alien technology might anger the very beings who sent it, or make the cosmic danger worse. Misinformation flooded the internet. Religious leaders called it a divine test, while others called it the beginning of the end. Humanity was torn between faith and science, between fear and courage. Elena kept working, ignoring the chaos outside. She spent sleepless nights studying the signal, convinced that there was more hidden within it. Her instincts told her that the message wasn't just about technology, it carried a deeper meaning. One night, while analyzing the signal's final section, she found something unexpected, a sequence that matched human DNA patterns. At first she thought it was a coincidence, but the more she looked, the more she realized it wasn't random. The aliens had encoded a structure that resembled the foundation of life itself. It was as if they were telling humanity that their species and ours shared something fundamental, a connection written in the language of the universe. This discovery stunned everyone. The idea that two civilizations, separated by galaxies, could share similar biological codes changed everything scientists knew about life. It suggested that maybe life in the universe was not an accident, but a shared design, a thread connecting countless worlds. People began to see the aliens not as strangers, but as distant relatives, lost cousins of humanity, calling out across the stars for help. As time passed, humanity began building prototypes of the alien devices. Massive structures rose across deserts and oceans, glowing with blue light as energy surged through them. Engineers from rival countries worked side by side, sharing knowledge like never before. It was the beginning of a new era, but still shadows loomed. Intelligence agencies warned that certain nations were secretly building versions of the alien technology for military purposes. They wanted to weaponize it, turning the gift of protection into an instrument of power. The same human flaws that had caused wars for centuries were once again threatening to destroy the fragile unity that had formed. One night, while Elena watched the prototype testing in Geneva, she felt a deep sadness. The alien message had given humanity everything, a warning, a chance, a gift, and yet people still fought among themselves. She wondered if the aliens had faced the same problem. Maybe their civilization had also struggled to unite before it was too late. Maybe the real danger was not the cosmic wave, but the inability of intelligent beings to work together. Still, hope refused to die. Across the world, people volunteered to help in any way they could. Farmers donated land for construction sites. Scientists shared discoveries freely online. Ordinary people sent messages into space, hoping the aliens could somehow hear them. It was as if, for the first time in history, humanity understood that survival depended not on power but on unity. Then, a new transmission arrived. It was weaker than before, almost fading but still clear. The message repeated one simple phrase over and over, in tones that sounded almost human. Together you are strong. Alone you are gone. The room fell silent as the words played again. Elena felt tears in her eyes. It was not just a message, it was guidance, maybe even wisdom, from beings who had already faced what humanity was about to face. It was a final gift from a dying world to one that still had a chance. The scientist transmitted a short reply, a simple signal of gratitude and acknowledgement. It was humanity's first message back to the stars, a promise that they would try, that they would not repeat the same mistakes. As the transmission left Earth, traveling into the cold silence of space, Elena watched it fade on her screen. She whispered softly, "We heard you, and we will not let your message be in vain." In that moment, something changed deep within her. She no longer saw the universe as a vast emptiness, but as a living network of souls, each reaching out, trying to help one another survive. The SOS signal was more than a call for help. It was a reminder of what it meant to be truly alive, to care, to fight, to hope, and to rise beyond fear. Humanity had been given a chance not only to save itself, but to prove that compassion could travel farther than any light, across galaxies, into the heart of eternity. The world was no longer the same. Months had passed since the alien SOS had been fully decoded, and the truth had spread everywhere. Humanity now knew that a great cosmic danger was heading toward Earth, a dark energy wave that had already destroyed another civilization. Scientists estimated it would arrive in less than 3 years. The countdown had begun, and for the first time in human history, every country on the planet was facing the same fear. But even as the truth united some, it divided others. People reacted in different ways, some with courage, others with chaos. In cities across the globe, people rushed to buy food, fuel, and supplies, afraid that the end was near. Religious groups gathered in parks and streets, praying for mercy. Scientists appeared daily on television, trying to calm the public, but nothing could stop the growing fear. News channels showed endless debates. Could the alien technology really save the Earth? Was it too late already? Could humanity truly work together? Or would greed and mistrust destroy the only chance of survival? Dr. Elena Morales was exhausted. She had been working non-stop with her international team in Geneva, trying to build a functioning version of the alien shield system. The blueprints were so complex that even the smartest minds struggled to understand them. It wasn't just science, it was something deeper, something that required perfect harmony between human minds, machines, and nature. Every time they made progress, political interference slowed them down. Countries argued over who would control the technology, who would lead the project, and who would benefit most after it succeeded. One evening, as Elena walked outside the lab, she looked at the sky. It was clear and full of stars, but she knew that somewhere beyond those shining dots a silent storm was moving closer. "We are running out of time," she whispered. Her friend and fellow scientist Dr. Amir Khan from Pakistan joined her. "We are not only fighting against the universe," he said quietly. "We are fighting against ourselves." Elena nodded sadly. He was right. Humanity's greatest enemy wasn't the cosmic wave. It was its own division. As weeks passed, the first signs of the approaching disaster began to appear. Strange weather patterns spread across the globe. Storms became stronger, and seasons started shifting unnaturally. In some places, the sun's light flickered faintly, as if space itself was trembling. Animals behaved oddly, migrating at the wrong times or fleeing regions for no reason. Scientists confirmed that gravitational anomalies were increasing, meaning the cosmic force was already affecting Earth's atmosphere. Panic grew like wildfire. In many countries, governments declared states of emergency. Curfews were set and military forces were placed on alert. Some people started building underground shelters. Others tried to escape to remote areas, hoping distance would protect them. But deep down, everyone knew there was nowhere to run. The danger was not from Earth, it was from the sky. Elena's team continued their work, and finally, after months of effort, they managed to activate a small part of the alien defense system. When the generator turned on, a soft blue light surrounded the testing site, forming a circular field that shimmered like water. Everyone gasped. For a few seconds, the energy held stable and perfect before fading away. It was proof that the shield could work, but it needed far more power, coordination, and trust among nations. Instead of celebrating together, the world's leaders started arguing again. Some claimed credit for the success, while others accused them of hiding crucial information. "The shield belongs to the world," Elena shouted during a meeting at the United Nations. "Not to any one nation. If we don't work together, we will all die." Her words were powerful, but the room was filled with tension. Many leaders listened, yet their eyes were full of calculation and pride. Unity was still just a dream. Outside the halls of power, life became harder. The global economy began to collapse. Markets crashed as people stopped buying anything unnecessary. Factories closed, ships stopped sailing, and airplanes remained grounded. Electricity became unstable in some regions because of the strange magnetic changes caused by the approaching force. Cities fell into darkness, and the night sky was filled with eerie glowing clouds. It felt like the planet itself was preparing for something terrible. Amid the chaos, violence and crime rose. People who once lived ordinary lives now fought for survival. Governments struggled to maintain order. Yet in this darkness, small sparks of humanity began to shine. In towns and villages, people started helping each other, sharing food and building shelters together. Teachers taught children under candlelight. Musicians played songs of hope in empty streets. Humanity was breaking apart, but at the same time it was learning what truly mattered: compassion, kindness, and unity. Back in Geneva, Elena's team was under enormous pressure. The United Nations had given them full authority to coordinate global efforts, but with the world falling into chaos, cooperation became nearly impossible. Communications between countries were breaking down. Some regions had lost power entirely, while others refused to share resources. The scientists felt helpless. "We have the plan, the technology, and even the hope," Elena said in frustration, "but not the unity. The aliens trusted us, but we can't even trust ourselves." Then came the day everything changed. The cosmic wave entered the solar system. It was invisible to the naked eye, but telescopes captured horrifying images. A massive ripple of dark energy spreading through space, swallowing asteroids and bending light. The moment it crossed the orbit of Jupiter, strange things started happening. Magnetic storms erupted on Earth, satellites went offline, communication networks collapsed. Planes were grounded and the sky glowed red and purple at night as radiation danced across the atmosphere. The world had entered its most dangerous hour. People everywhere looked to the sky in fear. The auroras were beautiful but terrifying, a sign that the universe was changing. Governments could no longer hide the truth. Broadcasts showed world leaders pleading for calm, while scientists urged everyone to stay indoors. Religious leaders of every faith prayed together for the first time in history. The sense of division slowly began to fade as people realized that no one was immune. Rich or poor, powerful or weak, everyone was in this together. Elena stayed inside the lab, surrounded by machines buzzing and blinking with warning lights. "We can't stop it," one of her engineers cried. "The energy is too strong." But Elena refused to give up. "No," she said firmly. "We have one chance left. We must activate the global system now." Using every last connection still working, they sent the activation code to all stations around the world. The alien shield required synchronization, and every station had to power up at the same moment. It was humanity's final test. As countdowns began across different continents, something incredible happened. People who had lost hope started to pray, meditate, or simply hold hands with strangers. Around the world, millions of hearts beat together. That unity seemed to create a strange calm, as if the Earth itself was breathing in rhythm with its people. The alien design had always been about more than technology. It was about connection, emotion, and belief. The energy shield was powered not just by machines, but by harmony among living beings. At exactly midnight, the activation began. All across the planet, massive energy towers lit up. From the deserts of Africa to the frozen lands of Siberia, blue lights rose into the sky. The beams connected, forming a glowing web of energy around the Earth. For a moment, everything was silent. Then a wave of pure light exploded outward, creating a shield that shimmered like a giant bubble of hope. People looked up and cried. They had done it. Humanity had created its first planetary defense. But the victory was short-lived. The cosmic wave struck the shield with unimaginable force. The ground shook, oceans roared, and the sky burned with light. The shield flickered, bending and cracking under the pressure. Power grids overloaded. Several stations went offline. Elena shouted orders, her voice shaking. "Reroute power! We can't lose synchronization." The engineers worked furiously, sweat dripping from their faces. Outside, the heavens looked like they were tearing apart. In that chaos, something strange happened. The shield's energy began to pulse rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Elena realized what was happening. The system was reacting to human emotion. The stronger people's unity and determination became, the stronger the shield pulsed. "It's alive," she whispered.
"It's responding to us." Across the world, people prayed, sang, and shouted words of encouragement.
They weren't scientists, but they were part of the same living system now. Their hope was energy. After what felt like endless minutes, the cosmic wave began to fade. The shield held. Earth survived the first impact. The world erupted in relief. People hugged, cried, and celebrated in the streets. But Elena didn't feel peace yet. She knew this was only the beginning. The alien message had warned them that the wave came in phases, each one stronger than the last. Humanity had survived the first test, but the next one would demand even more strength. That night, as she stood under the dim glow of the repaired shield, Elena thought about everything that had happened. The wars, the fear, the chaos, and yet, in the end, people had come together. The aliens had known exactly what they were doing. The message wasn't just about saving Earth, it was about awakening humanity's true potential. The shield had proven something far more powerful than technology. When people unite, they can overcome even the forces of the universe. The world was scarred but alive. For the first time in centuries, there were no borders, no enemies, only survivors. Humanity had been broken, tested, and forced to see its own strength. The cosmic storm had revealed the truth that had always been hidden within every human heart. The greatest power in the universe wasn't destruction or fear. It was unity, compassion, and the courage to stand together when everything else falls apart. The Earth had survived the first wave of the cosmic storm, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. The alien warning had clearly said that the cosmic energy would arrive in multiple phases, each one more powerful than the previous. The shield humanity built had held the first time, but it had also shown its weakness. Parts of it had flickered and almost collapsed. Several sections around the world had lost power due to electrical overload. For a few moments, the sky had cracked open with terrifying light, reminding humanity how close they were to complete destruction. After the wave passed, the entire planet was shaken. Buildings were damaged, oceans were still crashing against coastal walls, and the ground continued to tremble in some areas. People came out of shelters and underground bunkers with fear in their eyes. But something had changed inside them. The first attack had not destroyed humanity. It had awakened it. People no longer talked about countries, borders, and governments. They talked about us, all of humanity, as one family. The United Nations no longer functioned like before. Instead of leaders giving speeches and arguing, teams of scientists, engineers, spiritual leaders, and ordinary citizens all worked together. There was no more first world or third world. There was only Earth. Human beings finally understood what the alien message truly meant when it said, "Together you are strong." Dr. Elena Morales stood inside the central command chamber, surrounded by holographic images of the shield. It looked like a glowing net wrapped around the Earth, but dark spots were still visible, areas where the energy was weak. New stations had to be built, damaged ones repaired, and stronger connections must be formed than ever before. Elena knew technology alone would not be enough this time. The shield didn't just run on machines. It responded to human emotions, hope, unity, and consciousness itself. This discovery had shocked even the most advanced scientists. One night, while testing a new synchronization system, Elena experienced something strange. As the shield powered up in a controlled environment, she placed her hand on a special sensor designed to measure human interaction. Suddenly, she felt a vibration, not on her skin but deep inside her mind. Images flashed in her thoughts. Stars spinning, a planet covered in silver forests, alien faces looking at her with sadness and hope. She gasped and stepped back. The machine recorded an unusual spike in brainwave patterns. The alien technology was not just mechanical, it was psychic. Reports soon came in from other scientists around the world. Some of them had similar experiences. They saw visions. They felt emotions that didn't belong to them. They heard whispers in unknown languages that somehow they understood. It was as if humanity's mind was waking up from a long sleep. The shield was not just defending Earth. It was awakening something powerful inside the human soul, something that had been dormant for thousands of years. At first, people were afraid. Some thought they were losing their minds. Others believed it was the aliens trying to control them. But soon they realized this new ability was not an attack. It was a gift. Children began to show signs of heightened awareness. They could sense each other's emotions, finish each other's sentences, and even see energy patterns in the air. Adults too began to feel a deep connection with people thousands of miles away. Fear was slowly replaced with wonder. Elena and her team began studying this phenomenon. They discovered that the alien technology was designed to awaken what they called the universal consciousness. It was the hidden power of intelligent life, the ability to connect minds, to feel truth beyond words, and to act with complete harmony. This was the true power of humanity, one that had been buried beneath centuries of division and war. The second wave of the cosmic storm arrived earlier than expected. It was darker and more intense. The shield was activated again, but this time something new happened. As the wave hit, humanity did not panic. Instead, millions of people around the world meditated, prayed, focused their thoughts on peace and survival. They were no longer just watching, they were participating. The shield responded with incredible strength. The energy pulses synchronized not just with machines but with human consciousness. The wave smashed against the shield like a hurricane hitting a fragile window, But instead of breaking, the shield glowed brighter. Every time it trembled, the combined will of humanity strengthened it. People who had never met each other, who lived thousands of miles apart, felt a connection. They felt like they were breathing together, thinking together. The fear that once lived in their hearts was replaced by a deep, powerful calm. They were no longer alone. They were one. After several hours, the wave began to fade. Earth was safe again, but something incredible had happened. The shield did not power down as usual. It continued glowing gently, almost alive. Scientists discovered that the shield was now partially self-sustaining, drawing energy from the collective human consciousness and the natural electromagnetic field of the planet. Humanity was no longer just defending itself, it was evolving. Elena stood outside the laboratory, feeling the wind on her face. The air itself felt lighter, more alive. She looked up at the sky and smiled. For the first time in her life, she felt truly connected to the universe. She wasn't just seeing the stars, she was feeling them inside her heart. She knew others felt the same. In different parts of the world, people began developing new abilities. A farmer in Brazil could sense rain arriving days before the clouds formed. A teacher in Kenya could calm angry children simply by speaking softly to them, her voice carrying a strange, soothing energy. A monk in Tibet reported dreams where he floated above the earth, seeing glowing lines connecting every human being. Scientists called these quantum consciousness effects, but ordinary people called them the awakening. But not everyone accepted this change. Some groups, still trapped in fear, believed the awakening was unnatural. They tried to shut down shield stations, claiming it was brainwashing humanity. They did not understand that the power being awakened was not alien. It had always been inside humans, waiting for the right moment. As humanity continued to evolve, the shield's true purpose became clear. It was not just a protection system. It was a bridge between human beings and the universal intelligence that existed beyond physical form. The aliens who sent the message were not just warning humanity. They were guiding them toward their next stage of evolution. Their last gift was not technology. It was enlightenment. The third wave was expected to be the strongest yet. Elena watched as the countdown began. She was no longer afraid. She closed her eyes and placed her hand on the central console. But this time she did not feel alone. She felt millions of minds standing beside her. The wave approached like a roaring ocean of darkness. The sky split open with energy. But before it could hit, something magnificent happened. The shield expanded, not from Earth, but from within humanity itself. A massive burst of light erupted from the planet, created by the combined mental and emotional strength of all living beings. It wasn't human technology. It was human spirit. The wave collided with the light and dissolved into harmless particles. The danger had been neutralized, not just blocked, but transformed. People everywhere fell to their knees in awe. They had not only survived, they had unlocked their true power. This power was not destruction, not control, but harmony with the universe. Elena opened her eyes and whispered, "This is who we were meant to be." Earth had been tested by the universe, and it had responded not with fear, but with unity. Humanity was no longer just a species living on a small planet. It had taken its first step into a greater reality, one in which consciousness was the greatest force of all. The storm had tried to destroy humanity. Instead, it awakened it. As the light of the shield faded back into the atmosphere, a deep silence covered the earth. It was not the silence of fear or destruction, but the silence that comes after a great truth is revealed. Humans everywhere stood still, on streets and homes, at ocean sides, on mountains, as if the entire planet had paused to take a breath. For the first time in history, humanity was not asking, "What will happen to us?" but instead, "What have we become?" The third and most powerful cosmic wave had been neutralized not through weapons or technology, but through the awakening of human consciousness. The shield was no longer just a structure in the sky. It was alive through the hearts and minds of people. Every individual, no matter where they were, had played a part. Humanity had answered the alien SOS, not by sending a signal back, but by unlocking the message hidden within themselves. Dr. Elena Morales stood inside the global consciousness chamber, surrounded by floating displays showing Earth's energy patterns. The results were astonishing. The cosmic storm, once deadly, had now become a source of energy. The particles that entered Earth's atmosphere were now harmless. absorbed and transformed by the collective consciousness field. Instead of harm, it brought healing. Diseases that humanity had battled for centuries were suddenly decreasing. Plants were growing faster. Animals were no longer afraid of humans. The planet itself was changing, but something even more extraordinary happened. A beam of silver light appeared in the sky. Not an attack, not a storm. It hovered above Earth, peaceful and warm. People everywhere looked up and felt calmness spreading through their minds. The alien message that once came as a warning now returned as a greeting. Inside the light, shapes began to form. Beings of luminous energy, not physical in the way humans were, but alive, intelligent, and full of compassion. These were the ones who had sent the ancient SOS. They had once been like humans, afraid, divided, trapped by their own limitations. Their world had also faced a cosmic storm long ago. They survived not by fighting it, but by awakening their inner power. They knew that one day another young civilization would face the same challenge. That was why they had sent the message into the universe. Not to save humanity, but to guide them to save themselves. The beings did not speak with words. They communicated through thoughts, feelings, and memories. Every human mind suddenly understood the same message. You have found the truth. You are no longer children of fear. You are children of light. This realization washed across humanity like a wave of pure peace. Elena felt tears on her face, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of recognition. She remembered the visions she had seen earlier, the alien forests, the eyes of beings filled with sorrow and hope. They had not been strangers. They had been reflections of the future that humanity was now stepping into. People around the world started experiencing a deep spiritual transformation. The idea of separation, nation, race, religion, no longer made sense. Everyone now felt the living truth that every human being was a part of the same consciousness. When one person felt joy, the world became brighter. When one person felt pain, it echoed in the hearts of millions. And because they were connected, no one wanted to harm another ever again. Governments did not dissolve. They transformed. Instead of power being in the hands of a few, decisions were made with the collective intention of harmony. Technology that was hidden for decades was released openly to benefit humanity. Energy was drawn from the earth and stars without harming nature. Poverty disappeared, not because money was given out, but because the mindset that created greed no longer existed. The world was no longer built on competition, but on cooperation. In this new age, schools taught not just math and science, but the art of inner peace and consciousness. Children were no longer told what to think. They were taught how to connect to truth within themselves. They could feel the heartbeat of the planet, understand the emotions of animals, and know the thoughts of their friends, not by spying, but through love. But the biggest change came when the beam of light from the sky opened a gateway, a door between dimensions. The alien beings invited humanity not to follow them, but to walk beside them. Earth had become part of a universal family. Many planets across galaxies had already passed through their awakening and joined what the aliens called the Great Union of Conscious Life. Humanity now had the choice to travel beyond physical space, not in ships of metal, but in vessels of thought and pure energy. Elena, along with selected individuals from every culture and region, stepped forward to be the first to enter the gateway. They were not chosen for their power, but for their humility and clarity of heart. The moment they passed through the gateway, they felt time and space dissolve. They could see stars being born, galaxies turning like spirals of light, and streams of universal energy flowing like rivers of consciousness. They met beings from other worlds, some made of light, some of sound, some of matter so delicate that a human finger could pass through them like air. These beings did not see humans as small or primitive. They welcomed them as equals, as long-lost siblings who had finally come home. Back on Earth, life blossomed. The planet healed at a speed never seen before. Forests regrew, oceans cleared, extinct animals reappeared through the consciousness field. Every living being became part of the Earth's awakening. Even weather patterns stabilized. There were no more natural disasters because the planet itself was now in harmony with the minds that lived upon it. Years passed, but they did not feel like years. Humanity no longer aged in the same way. Disease and suffering became rare memories, like old nightmares that faded in the morning light. People didn't live for survival. They lived for experience, creation, and universal connection. One day, Elena stood on the same hill where she once felt fear watching the cosmic storm approach. Now the sky was filled with gentle waves of light from other worlds, arriving and leaving through the interdimensional gate. Children played nearby, laughing as they created shapes in the air using their consciousness, sculpting light itself into animals, buildings, and dreams. Elena felt a presence beside her. It was one of the luminous beings. She did not need to ask why it was there. She already knew. The next stage was beginning. The universe, vast and mysterious, was full of other civilizations waiting to awaken. Humanity was no longer the student, it was becoming the guide. The being's thoughts flowed into Elena's mind. Humanity's mission was clear now, to travel through the stars not as conquerors but as awakeners. Just as they had received the SOS and discovered their true power, now they would become the messengers, sending ripples of consciousness through the universe, reminding other worlds of the truth hidden within every soul. Elena looked up at the stars and whispered, "We are ready." And the stars responded, not with sound, but with light. The story of humanity did not end with survival. It began with awakening. Earth was no longer just a planet. It had become a beacon, shining across the universe, calling all life to remember. The greatest power is not in the body, nor in the machine, nor in the weapon. The greatest power is in the awakened soul,